Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 422 of the Running for Real podcast. I'm excited that you are here and excited for my conversation today with my guest, Courtney Phillips-Manning. Courtney is the co-host of the Runners Club podcast. She's the founder of GumboFit. She works in community at AG1 and she's the head coach of Bisash. She is doing a lot and we kind of move around a lot in this conversation today. We start at body relationships and how pregnancy has changed her outlook on herself and what she is doing. We talk about community building and how she pretty much got into community building as soon as she got into the running space and just the power that that has given her. We talk about the introspective approach that she has towards her life and what that has taught her. And I really think you're going to get a lot from this episode. So I'm going to let Courtney introduce herself. Let's check in with one of our partners and get right to this episode with Courtney Phillips-Manning. Hey runners, have you seen top athletes like Eilish McColgan and Cara Goucher using the lever system lately? If not, let me fill you in on why this just might be the game changer you've been waiting for. The lever system is an innovative way to reduce your body weight while exercising on a treadmill, which means less impact on your joints. Imagine being able to push your limits without the fear of injury holding you back. Whether you're coming back from an injury, looking to increase your running volume, or wanting to add some serious speed work to your routine, lever has got you covered. What's even better, the lever system is incredibly portable. It sets up on your home treadmill or at your local gym in under 2 minutes. Yes, you heard that right. Less than 2 minutes and you are ready to go. And because we know you'll love it, we've got an exclusive deal for you. Use the discount code TINA, T-I-N-A, to get you 20% off your purchase. Trust me, your joints, Achilles, and sore muscles will thank you, and so will your future self. So check out Lever today and take your running to the next level. Also, give them a follow on Instagram at Lever, that's L-E-V-E-R, at Lever Movement, and learn more about how they are partnering with the endurance community. Happy running. Courtney, welcome to you and your little babe who is almost ready to make their appearance into the world to the Running for Real podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you must be, as of this recording, 36, 37 weeks?
Yeah, I'm like almost through my 37th week, so almost 38. So.
You're getting real?
Yeah, it's getting real. I'm in the birthing window. I just posted on Threads today that I'm now at the point in pregnancy where my husband asks me every day, about once a day, "Are you in labor?" I'm like, no, I'm fine.
Anytime you go, like,
I just can't breathe.
yeah. I remember that very well, and it's this is the point where it's very uncomfortable. So yeah, but exciting, and it seems like you've really been thriving in this. I actually want to start maybe with this section before we get on to kind of your role in community and the importance of that. But I read something from you when I was reading up, and I'm going to read it to you if you don't mind. Never thought I'd enjoy it so much. Never knew how much it would completely break me down and build me back up. Never knew just how little I knew of this experience. Never knew how much I could love this body as I watch it change before my eyes. Never knew how gorgeous this moment could be. What do you feel when you hear that back now?
At first when you started, I was like, when did I write that? And then I remembered that it was an Instagram post, and I'm like, and now I feel emotional because it is my experience. And I think, yeah, I mean, in comparison to how I felt as an athlete and even the evolution that I felt as a runner, just thinking that was the moment that I was going to appreciate my body most and be most amazed by my body. And then like in many ways being timid and quite frankly scared to be pregnant and give birth and be a mom. And so to get to this point and feel, yeah, a lot. I mean, it's just, there's so much to go into. I'm just really amazed, honestly. And like those words still stand true in many ways.
Which is good. I wanna just go into one of those sentences. Never knew how much I could love this body as I watch it change before my eyes. How is your relationship to your body, or how has it been previous to this moment? I remember for me being pregnant the first time, and when I knew especially that I was having a girl, all the kind of negative relationship I had with my body, all the things I thought, I knew I had to change, because all those damaging things that I had said to myself over the years, the idea of someone, my child, a baby, thinking that about themselves just ripped me apart. And I was like, it was such a fire lit under me of like, I've got to change this relationship. So what does that mean to you when you said, love my body? Never knew how much I could love this body as I watch it change before my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I modeled for like 8 years, like in my 20s, and just struggled with comparison and never thought that I was like the ideal size or shape or, and I was just very hypercritical of the way that I looked. I wasn't raised by my mom. And so I never really had like that mom figure that was just in my ear all the time saying like, you're amazing, honey. You got this. You're beautiful. I mean, I know that not everybody gets that either. Sometimes you really get like a very critical parent. And I was getting that criticism just generally through all sorts of different relationships in society. And so I carried them into my early adulthood, into my 20s, internalized it, still to this day, I have intrusive thoughts on the way that I look, but I have never I didn't realize when I started running, I was in a position where I was like, wow, my body is strong. I don't really care how I look. It functions. I'm healthy. Like it was
running
more that.
Taught you that, or you you started running after that?
Running taught me that. It was more of an appreciation of just like, I'm not trying to be the skinniest that I've ever been. I'm trying to be the healthiest I've ever been. I'm trying to have longevity. Like the words I was using and the concepts that I was like using to motivate me or have been motivating me. That was like the language I was using. And then, but the idea of getting pregnant, whether it was a girl or a boy or whatever, was still just like, it was almost an idea of like, I'm going to lose autonomy of my body. I don't know if all this work that I've been doing, I'm going to completely lose, because there's such a negative connotation around pregnancy and like
letting yourself go.
Society is scared of pregnant women and birth and like just being a parent. Like there's so much negative talk around it. I mean, even the other day yesterday I was watching something like a video and someone was like, yeah, like women really get the short end of the stick. And it was just like literally on like a recent reality TV show. Like, I'm like, no, I feel like I have just so many opinions about it. It's like, yeah, we're really scared of women's bodies because we quite frankly don't know enough about it. And through this journey of becoming pregnant, I realized I like to be a little bit more squishy. I like to have my curves. I love my feminine body. I love the way that it looks. And I also love that it's very strong and that like I can do all these things. And then on top of that, I was running while pregnant pretty much into my second trimester. And then I kind of just decided I wanted to just do walking, and I'm doing like 2 to 3 miles a day these days. And that's good. And lots of stretching. And I know that I'm very excited to get back to running later. But in this interim, I'm just like allowing myself to love the body that is being created and the body for the creation of my daughter. Because to your point too, it's just like, if I don't love myself, if I don't start reversing some of these intrusive negative thoughts, it's going to trickle down to her. And I would just hate for that to be her reality. I don't want to be the voice in her head that is negative. I want to be a positive reinforcement of like her power. Cause I'm witnessing her power now in a way that like just the power of children and how they come into your life and how they start manifesting before they even like know. Like, it's not just when you are born. It's like your mother carrying you for 9-10 months. Your mother is like preparing for your existence. Like your family is preparing for your existence. Therefore, it's like you're already there. Your presence is just like growing. It's like this light, this flame that's like slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger until your earth side, which I'm not trying to get like too deep into the weeds on that. But like, that's how it feels on my end, where I'm like, oh, wow, like this was also me for my mother.
Yeah.
My mother was very young when she had me. She had no idea what she was doing. She didn't have any support. And I'm like I'm in a position where I have like the ability to have people around me and that have given me information like, oh, you don't have to give birth in a hospital. You can be surrounded by midwives. Have you had a doula before? And like, these are things that are empowering my experience, which then have also empowered my love for myself and my body. It's like very cyclical. And so if anything, my goal through all of this is, yes, to be that positive influence for my daughter, but then also hopefully for any other women that come behind me or are currently pregnant now, like be a resource of like, this is not a terrible experience. Like, it really can be an amazing experience if you lean in.
I when I had my daughters, I used this method, which is very woo-woo, called hypnobabies. People have often heard of hypnobirthing, but hypnobabies is an extreme version of that. And so
Really?
I would train for it essentially for an hour for 3 months before. I had to do these hypnosis sessions. I'd put myself under, I had to reframe all the wording I used around birth. You didn't call it labor, you called it birthing. You didn't say it was contractions, it was birthing waves. You didn't, all the negativity that we're throwing, it wasn't envisioning this moment of like screaming in pain. It was this moment of like relaxing through the waves. And actually, I really believe that the relaxation I learned through that got me to the point of pushing where I had all my energy left because I hadn't been fighting my body up to that point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I definitely resonate with what you're saying there. And I'm glad there are more conversations happening around this and making, women feel empowered, not it being this big thing that builds up and it's scary and like, get it over with as quickly as I can and as easy as I can. And I just wanted I want it to be done with. So I'm glad that you're reframing that and also, starting to get to know your daughter before she even is here, because, those early years, if you're not able to give yourself compassion and you're not able to look upon this moment and ask for help and be, surrounded by other support, it can be really hard. And it is hard either way. But I think it's so important that you've obviously recognized that you are surrounded by good people and you do have to prepare mentally in a way of, and mentally for this moment and what it's going to mean. So,
yeah. I mean, and one last thing I'll say on that too is that, like the idea that like we always see women giving birth in a screaming situation and as like, it's like crazy frantic energy. Like your story is like, I love hearing that. I've never heard of hypnotic
babies.
Hypnobabies. Mm-hmm. And I think, like there's a documentary called Orgasmic Birth. I watched that along with some other ones. Also, The Business of Giving Birth is a good one for anyone out there that's looking for something to watch and educate. But the act of giving birth in many ways can be very parallel to the act of creating a baby as well. And I think, and like hearing women vocalize what they're going through, and like really like a lot of women in this situation when giving birth, I've just like from learning, from reading and speaking to my doula and my midwives and watching these documentaries, it's just like, you got to let a woman really feel her way through it. And when she does, it's a little erotic, like it's a little, sexual, and that's okay. And like, and that's part of it. It's like, we have to allow women to be their natural selves and actually like work through birth. And that's something where I'm like, I obviously haven't experienced it yet. Maybe my conversation would be much different after, but in this moment right now, like that's what I'm preparing for, where it's like, yeah, it's going to be work, but I want to do my best to lean in. And to your point, like look at it as waves, and like every wave within that birthing experience is like getting me closer to my baby. It's not to harm me.
Yes. That's exactly the wording they use in the track that you listen to. Exactly that. Every wave is bringing my baby closer. That was one of the things they say. And one more thing on that, you said about the kind of intimacy of that moment. Like I specifically remember this with my oldest, of the noise I made was like a roar, like a lion, that I could never reproduce like now, but it felt what I needed to do. And it was what I needed in that moment. And so, but I didn't feel like it was a scream like they show on the TV. It was more like a roar.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good to hear you share that. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about your running. Well, you've mentioned running and how it helped you with your relationship to yourself. You mentioned modeling there. Why did running become the kind of ultimate way to help you untangle, the comparison? Modeling is all about kind of getting as close to perfection as you can, or at least that's my interpretation of it. So how did running help you with working through this period of your life? You said 8 years where you had been focused every moment on looking your absolute best.
Yeah. I've always said that. Well, someone told me once, and then I kind of adopted it, where modeling is selling aspirational beauty. And, and it's like, it's tough. Yeah. There's a lot there, but I think when I made the decision to officially like retire, I guess, was I just like couldn't handle it. Like there was just so many different passive aggressive moments that I've experienced, or just outwardly terrible experiences that I've had. And then, there's a good one sprinkle here and there, but like those negative ones really stuck out, especially just, as a Black woman living in the Midwest, working out in these suburbs, like, cause I started modeling where I'm from, which is Minneapolis, Minnesota, moved to Chicago. I lived in Chicago for like 7 years. And so like, I wasn't modeling that whole time in Chicago. So when I finally decided, okay, I'm done with this, I'm not going to rely on, like, it got to a point where I was reliant on more so the income. And I was just scared to take a leap, and I didn't know what else I wanted to do. Like, I studied finance in school. I worked at Target Corp. Like I was like, but then I made some decisions in my life that kind of like put me that like, again, like not having like a really strong support system. I didn't feel confident in like trying something else. And so luckily my now husband, but like just, lifetime partner, like really has helped me get over that. And he was just like, just stop. Like, it's not something you want to do anymore. And so from there, I was like 28 and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be 30 soon. I want to have a better relationship with my body. I want to move my body. And I want to get back into like sports of some sort. Cause like when I was young, I played volleyball, softball. I did cross country skiing cause I'm from Minnesota. Like, and so like, I love moving my body but I like completely let that go. And whenever I thought of moving my body, it was more so like, how do I get skinnier? Or like, I need to go to the gym. And And then I was like, well, running seems to be the easiest thing for me, the most approachable thing where I didn't really need to buy anything to get started. And so like one late spring day in Chicago, I'm like, I'm going to run a mile for a month. Like, just try. And it was just my own little challenge to myself. My husband, not a runner. He had ran the Chicago Marathon once for his nonprofit, but he had only trained up to 8 miles. And he's just like a naturally tall, slender man that like just can do these types of things. And so it was really just like, okay, like have fun. And at this time I was living in the Hyde Park area, which was the last neighborhood I lived in Chicago. And I was very close to the lake. So I would just like trot myself on over to the lake and get my little mile in. And it was great. And I would just like, post on Instagram and it was cute. And then before I knew it, I was getting introduced to like different brands. And then the brands were like inviting me out. And then like, it was really Nike that then was like, oh, you like to run? Come join us for this thing. And I was like, okay. So then like I popped up and I did like a random 5K or like 8K that was like, cause they did those pop-up races back then in like 2019. And then that's when I met what would be the coaches soon. And then after that, directors of GumboFit. But like all of them had not like really started their own run club. Like all these like people who had once been like the Nike like run leads, like and I've always been a community leader for the most part because like my husband and I started a media company, and what I was doing for these brands and also just generally to bring people together and to like bring in more like clients was I would do these mixers and I would do like different gatherings to just like get people to think and learn from each other and network.
Love that.
And so I was like, that was the thing that like I brought to the table. And then the running was the thing where I was like, yeah, I'm really new here. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I do know how to bring people together. And that's like where Mike Brown came in and like Kelsey McKinney and Picasso Russell and like, it was just, yeah, it was a good group of folks. And like, those are the people that helped me start the run club. And so like it was weird because it was like, okay, now you're starting a run club. But at the time there weren't that many run clubs to begin with. So I didn't have like a roadmap and it wasn't meant to be part of the mix. I should also mention Maya, and I should also, I'm like, if I don't say someone's name, I'm like, girl, you didn't say my name. And I'll be like, okay, I'm so sorry. Candace. That was last. Yeah. But like I had a large group of folks that like were helping me learn about running, taking me under their wing, and I had this relationship with, the brand. And then Gumbo Media, I was like, okay, all of these like creatives, I'm like, they're really, really dope, but like, how are they feeling health wise? How can I do something to like get them to move? So then I'm like, okay, GumboFit. That's where the name came from. I didn't even think about it that much. And then it stuck. And then I was like, shoot, I was like, I'm like, why did I pick that name? And so it is what it is. It's just like,
it's memorable.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like, when people ask, I'm like, it wasn't like people starting run clubs these days where like, there's clearly a lot of thought. There's clearly like people that they're looking at, groups that they're looking at. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, we had a media company and this was the fitness arm of it. And that was it, and yeah. And so then it was like, we got bibs for the Chicago Marathon. Like before I knew it, I was running like the Big 10 and then I was like signed up for the Chicago Marathon and I was like, okay, I guess I'm running.
How soon was that after you started running?
I ran the Chicago Marathon in 2019.
Oh, so the same year you
immediately.
Started. Oh, wow.
It was like from 0 to 100 really fast. And it was just like that small crew of people and we would just meet up together. And Ian was also part of that crew. He wasn't like one of the coaches formally, but he loved running with us for the long runs. And so that's how he and I became really good friends. And it was like a group of maybe 8 of us. And we would meet up at the point and do our little morning long run. And that was it. And then eventually, and then I was like, okay, let me do an Instagram, start an Instagram. People heard about us. All of a sudden the group just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And before I knew it, I was like leading this group of people, you know, and luckily I had my crew, like my main crew of folks that were like, had done this before, but like, I also was learning. Like, I'm one of those people where like, if I get put in a situation, I'm going to soak in all the information that I possibly can to be the best that I can for my community. Yep. I'm going to, if I have a partnership with a brand, I'm like, okay, folks need shoes. People need clothes. People want bibs. Like, they want access to this world of fitness that they have not had access to, or they're just learning about. Like, how can I be the between person and make it easy for folks and actually make it an accessible sport? Because yes, running is not just about putting shoes on and putting clothes on. It's like, there's so many other aspects to it. And so that became my whole driving mission for several years. And then it like kind of hit its peak, and then I kind of went through some stuff, and I was just like, and then I saw more run clubs popping up, and I was like, I think my work is done here. And that's kind of like how, and then I just slowly, like we all kind of, like the directors kind of went off and did their own thing. And I was like, I'm proud of everybody. Like, I even like had like created a program towards the end where I was like, because our community had grown so big, and I was like, who of you really want to be leaders in this run community? How can I support you? How can I give you the knowledge that I have gained, help you get certified as coaches so that you can go off and start your own run clubs? Because like, literally, I'm not trying to have everybody's mom and uncle and brother and sister come run with me and like be reliant on me to get their workouts in. Like, I want them to have options around the city. I want there to be more accessibility to different neighborhoods within the city. I'm not trying to be like the owner of all things run in Chicago. Not that I ever was, but like that was in my point of doing it. And so, yeah, like we literally had a whole program. And there's a handful of folks out there that are now trainers. I love it. Have started run clubs, ended their run club, you know, like people who are like hopefully still benefiting from the things that I've done. Like, I've tried to put forward alongside my crew of leaders. And now that I live in LA, you know, it's never not going to be a thing for me to be like a run person, but I'm now figuring out how to like, I'm always going to be evolving it and making it feel like something that like I want to contribute to the scene versus like just being here because I feel like I need to continue doing it.
I try to eat all the fruits and vegetables I can in my diet, but I'm also not perfect at it. I do enjoy my foods, and sometimes that means choosing things that aren't packed full of vegetables and fruits, because that's what life is about, right? Fueling our bodies with whole foods is important, but every one of us is going to have nutrient gaps, including me. And that is why I start my day with AG1. It ensures that I'm filling any nutritional gaps. It means I can enjoy going out to eat and not feel pressure to eat a certain thing, because I know I'm supporting my whole body health by starting my day off with a scoop of AG1. AG1 is a foundational nutritional supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting into your body. I trust AG1 because unlike so many products, the entire formula is backed by research studies, not just the ingredients. AG1 is packed with a variety of nutrient-dense ingredients and is the perfect complement to every healthy diet. I drink it every day because I know it gives me peace of mind. I can tell when my body isn't functioning the way that it should, particularly when it comes to digestion and my gut. Recently, they found in a research study, AG1 doubled the amount of healthy bacteria in the gut, including 2 species known for supporting gut and whole body health. If there's one product I trust to support my whole body, it's AG1, and that's why I've partnered with them for so long. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Tina. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. Check it out. Why is it? I want to hear about, like, you said it just then about LA, but also you said it with Chicago, like so many people who get in that position where they start something, it maybe starts in a similar reason that you said of like, I want to do I enjoy something. I want to share it with the community. I want to have more people get how good this feels. But sometimes at a certain point, it becomes almost more about ego than about the group itself. And it becomes about, like you said, you don't want to be the kind of run leader of Chicago where everyone comes to you. How are you able, is that something with your upbringing? Is that something you've taught yourself about, like recognizing when it's your time to step back and kind of let others take the lead and have that moment and build something else? How did you get to that point where you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I try to listen to how I'm feeling about things. And when I start to get exhausted, I know that I'm not showing up as my best self. And also when I get like, I've had moments where I'm like, well, I felt entitled to certain things and spaces. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like I've never felt those things. But then when I do, I have to like take a step back and be like, why do I really feel this way? And is it that serious? And like I truly believe that like the spaces that are meant for me, like I'll be in and it'll feel good. It should never come from a place of force. I don't really like that type. I don't like that energy. I don't like feeling like that. I don't like feeling, like I need to force my way into something or to force my way into staying in a position somewhere. Cause I truly believe that like if you allow yourself to move a little bit more fluidly, the next thing that comes will just be a manifestation of like all the things you've done before. And usually it's better. Mm-hmm. And also my husband is like that too. He and I have conversations about how like some of the best leaders lead from behind. You don't have to be the person in the front. As a leader, you should be able to identify in your group the talents around you and allow people to shine. And also, like, I've realized that people can say, like, a lot of times, like, the themes, like the pillars in running are very similar. Like, just like generally there's pillars in running and why people run. But somehow you have a podcast, I have a podcast, there's tons of different podcasts. And we're kind of saying all the same things, but the difference is like the way you say it, some people resonate with it more. Yeah. Sometimes there's things that I say that people resonate with more. So like I use that also within leadership where it's like, yes, I've said this to my crew many times, but there's new people now joining the club. And maybe this other person in the group that wants to be a leader, who wants their voice heard, could say it in a way that really like pulls people in, those new people in, like, or that like I just simply can't do. And so I just think you have to give space and understand that like no one is overshadowing you. And I truly don't know where I came from, but I think it's like a mixture of like all the things that I mentioned of like, I really lead with my passion. And if I ever get to a place where things start becoming like, I feel like I'm getting burnt out a little bit, that's my sign of being like, okay, how can I evolve this or make space for other people to push it forward?
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's clear that for you, well, actually, first I wanted to say you said about starting running and then starting the run club not long after that, jumping straight into the marathon. It almost sounds like, you know, I try to say to people often through this podcast or otherwise when they say, well, I'm not a leader, I can't be a leader, I just started running, or I'm a slow runner, or I can't be a mentor to someone else. And I've always strongly disagreed with that even someone who started running 6 months ago knows things that the person who just started didn't know. And so it's almost like when you started, you were able to have that mindset of a brand new runner and what a brand new runner would be thinking about. And you could utilize that. And that was something that really stood out to people because you in many ways you were in it with them, or you were just a few months ahead of them. And similarly, that relates to what you were saying about pregnancy. You want kind of other women coming behind you to recognize that it's not necessarily the way that we're pregnancy is not necessarily what we see in the media. So this seems like that's important to you to carve your own path and then to reach back and, bring people along with you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And I really like the thing that I try so hard to do is not be annoying about it. Because one thing I hate is like people who try to preach when they just got here. It's like, that's the thing where if anything, I'm like, I'm excited to share this information and this experience with you. If it's not your thing, fine. But like, if you have any questions, I'm an open book because, and you kind of, you've asked me this in the last question of just like, what about my upbringing brought me there? It's just like, because I don't feel like I had any resources around me. So like, I was forced to constantly be like, to reach out and be like, how do I get this information? Or how do I learn more about this? And like, how do I, and it like, I know how exhausting that is to not feel supported and how like defeating it is to not feel supported. And I just want to like, I don't know, like just not necessarily shield people from that, or just be an easy, accessible resource. And yeah, like and that's exactly it. When I started the run club, I came in with the information of like, yeah, I would straight up tell people like, yeah, I just got here. I just started running. Like you literally don't need to listen to a word that I say, but our coaches, our run directors, like they've been running for a while. They've been leading runs for a while. They could talk about pace all day, but then like what I did to get to more of a place of knowledge was like, I started running races. I started training. I started talking to different coaches. I was having conversations with my directors every week, and I like one of the programs I was asking for was like to get certified as a road running coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
RRCA.
Yeah, RRCA. So like when I found out about RRCA, I was like, hey, Nike, I would like for you to sponsor me for this. And not only me, I was like, no, at first it was just me. And then the second, it was like me and my directors. And like, I was like, you can do this or not, but like they're offering it because like I'm asking for it and because I want to learn. And because if I want to learn, I'm going to offer that to you too. And then once I got close to like moving to LA and I knew that I wanted some of my community leaders to like try being coaches and try being leaders, I was like, hey, Nike, can we do that again? But can we like give that to these individual community leaders? And they're like, let's see. So like, because it's really hard to get into the RCA courses. Like there's a long wait list. And once you pop in, first of all, little to no diversity. Second of all, half of those people aren't even trying to be coaches. They're like, I just want to learn more about running. I don't really have a community. And it's like, girl, great. Great. Glad you're here. Glad you're able to pay. You know what I mean? But like, also, I was really hoping, like, for me, it was like, I want to learn it for myself, but I want to learn it for myself so I can give that information to my community and like allow everyone else to do that. And so that's one of my, that is something I'm very proud of because I love being able to provide education. And again, it's like, I'm really not trying to be annoying. If anything, I'm just like, you don't have to listen to me, but if I have an opportunity, I'm going to share it. And if you want to take advantage of it, go for it.
Hi friends, you have heard me talking about Runner, the #1 rated running coaching app in the world with over 20,000 5-star reviews. They are loved and it is easy to see why. They are on a mission to make running as easy, effective and enjoyable as possible. And they do this through creating personalized running plans for runners of all abilities. So yes, that is to you too. Even if you think you are not good enough for a coach, not fast enough for a coach, you too, this is speaking to you. They have runners who are beginning their journeys as a couch to 5K runner, all the way to elite marathoners. All of the plans are built by Olympic athletes and expert coaches. In addition, they also have strength and conditioning plans that are running specific and full body. They have integrated mobility and Pilates for you to be able to do. It'll sync with your calendar. And most important, or maybe not most important, but my favorite part is that you can connect with like-minded runners in the community section to find people to support you and work with you along during your training plan. Also, now Runner has an AI feature that adapts your real workout data, providing pace recommendations based on your performance. You can complete your sessions and choose to accept or reject pace adjustments as it determines them from your training. It is such an exciting time to be able to be using this app, and they are working really hard to make all runners feel like they can reach their best. And now I am starting to run more again. I'm so excited to be able to use a runner plan myself so we can go into this together. So that said, as a friend of mine, you can get 2 weeks for free by being a friend of mine and downloading that Runner app. You can use code RUNNINGFORREAL to get yourself 2 weeks for free. So go use code RUNNINGFORREAL when you download Runner to your phone. Let's do it. Okay, so with what you were saying there of like you've mentioned multiple times so far going to Nike and saying, hey, I'd like you to cover this. Yeah. Now, this was a topic that has come up, a few times in the last few years of kind of advocating for yourself and your community, asking for support, kind of pushing and sometimes for support. And I want to say you and Ian did an episode about this. I don't think I listened, but I remember him telling me about it. I don't remember what he said. But let's talk about that piece of someone who is a community leader and is building something, but the idea of saying, hey, can you pay for this? Hey, you should support us with this, versus the brand coming to you and saying, here, we'll give you like 3 pairs of shoes, or here, we'll give you a small amount of things. What are your thoughts on that there of people advocating for themselves?
I think it goes both ways. And it also depends on where the brand is at in their community building. Like, you just have to understand. And again, I'm not trying to make this about Nike at all. I'm just using them. Yeah. I'm referencing them because they quite literally are a part of the story that I'm telling. But as someone who now works in corporate too, again, and understands like community building from the outside and inside, it's like, yeah, it's like a delicate dance, I would say. And it's like, because every brand has a prerogative. Community is always, and it's not to say that community is disingenuous. It's just, usually community comes from like a marketing system, like a, part of the brand. And it usually is going to trickle up to sales. And so I think coming to that realization is important, because it's also like they might be offering something, and if that works for you, take it. Great. Do you? Like, I'm not like, and that's every run club. And if we're going to talk about it on the basis of run clubs, it's like every run club leader is looking for something different to provide to their community. I don't think it needs to be a one-to-one thing, because some things are more important than others. Like, some people are looking for money. Some people are specifically just looking for clothing. Some people are looking to be like featured on different things, or like get bibs and things like that. So like, and there's a time sometime, like there was a golden era, I think, in Chicago where like everybody was getting bibs and the clothes and the features and the things. And it was just like, great. And then, and now you have a few more other brands on the scene doing some really great work. And then you have some of these other brands that they used to do some things and they're kind of just turning the tap off. And like, you could be mad or you could just keep it pushing and realize it is what it is. And so I think within that relationship though, of when the tap is turned on and they're offering you things, you don't have to agree right away to everything. You can sit with what they're offering and also say, hey, what else can I ask for that's going to fill the gaps of need in my community? And that also takes an effort to listen to your community members every week. And sometimes it's not always verbally communicated. For me, sometimes it was just like simply looking around and seeing the state in which people's clothes are,
Mm-hmm.
or looking around and realizing the same people every year were running the same races. And then there's other people who are like, one, haven't even tried to like add themselves to the lottery, or even like consider themselves someone that can run a race. And it's like, okay, well, how can I like help push them a little bit if they decide to like, if they, if they're receptive to it. So I think it's, and I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole with it, but I think it's just about practice. You don't have to ask for a ton at once. You don't have to be super demanding or forceful. I think it's about creating a good relationship. That's really the basis of all.
Yep.
Of everything. Yeah. It's not, because it's like, at the end of the day, there's people behind the brand. And so it's like, be nice, be a kind person, and be real, and like ask for things that you actually like want, and be okay with negotiating, and be okay if they say no. And like, just look at it as a long conversation.
Yeah. I genuinely think all of the opportunities that have come about with brands from that I work with or have worked with have come about. Maybe there's a few exceptions, but the overwhelming majority has been genuinely caring, having a good relationship with someone at a brand. And maybe even that person leaves that brand and goes to a different brand. But then if you have maintained a friendship with them and you genuinely care about them as a human, knowing they're a person behind the brand, they want to advocate for you too. And that has been more effective and also more enjoyable and more meaningful than just kind of going at like, here's my request. I need you to take this. So I want to ask then, you have your podcast that you host with Ian. And when I say Ian, or when we say Ian, we're referring to Ian Gonzalez, who has also been on this podcast. So I'll put a link in the show notes to get to know Ian's story for listeners. What is that podcast? What is the part of that you most enjoy? What do you tend to get out of that yourself with the work that you and Ian do there?
Yeah. Shout out to Ian. I will say he and I are like really great friends, and we're also very, very different, which I think is part of the appeal of our conversations on our podcast. And our podcast is called the Runners Club Podcast. And we started that 2 years ago. And we're still going. Like, we're almost at episode 100, which is hilarious. But yeah, like it went, we're like, it's just about conversations on life, but with running and fitness intertwined in it. And every now and then you'll get like a product review. I've been pregnant all year, so like I've obviously talked about that. I can't help it. And we'll have guests on here and there, but like we've been very lax about the structure. But like, yeah, we'll talk about things that like news in running, which is always really entertaining, and then like our usual updates on like where we are personally in our fitness, and yeah, and usually it's also like community updates on primarily Chicago, but like now that I'm in LA, there's that. When I first moved to LA, I started running, training with a group, and I ran the LA Marathon. And so like that was kind of fun to talk about, just experience like in comparison, the Chicago run community versus the LA run community. Very interesting.
Yeah. Tell us more. What do you mean by that?
I mean, at this point, like I'm starting to see much more similarities than differences, because I've been here for now a little over like 2 years. And so, but yeah, I mean, just this, I think even just the seasonality of everything changes the energy of how people gather. Because we don't get snow. We don't get like super, super cold months. And if anything, it's like, I would love to train for the Chicago Marathon out here in LA. That's like one of my goals, because it's the perfect training weather. And it's always super nice, and like it's not scorching hot on the lakefront like in Chicago. And then I'll say too, yeah, it's more similarities than anything at this point. And I think with LA, being that there's not a world major in LA, which in my opinion I feel like is gonna change. This is my thought. But Yeah, people are like super swaggy, and then there's the cool kids, and then there's the everyday folks, and then there's the girls groups, and then it's just like, it's honestly the same. And now, and I'll say it's the same because running across the United States has become like a thing. It's buzzed so much. It's got a buzz to it that like, I feel like it's just one other city with a lot of run clubs.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
All right. So then last thing I want to ask you about, you seem to really be someone who appreciates and enjoys and takes a lot of meaning in reflection and growth about yourself and about the things that you work through in your life. So maybe share some of your favorite things that you have. We've mentioned some of them about, relationship with your body and letting go while you still have intrusive thoughts. We all do, kind of working towards loving yourself for who you are. What are some of the other things that come to mind in terms of reflection and growth that you've really appreciated?
From running
or otherwise, yeah.
That I like can't stop running. I've literally tried. Like I can't, like, even being pregnant, I thought that I feel I'm so excited to get back into running and training for something, even though like when I'm training for something, I feel like life sucks a lot of the times, but now with being pregnant, I'm so excited to push my body so much more than I ever have before, because I was at like 70% and thought that I was dying when I could probably go another 10, maybe 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm like, oh, like I really thought that I was doing the most in this sport. And I was like putting my little maybe pinky toe into it. Like it was barely, my full potential. And I look at photos of myself beforehand and I was like, wow, I like really thought that like my body looked so much different than it actually did. And now with my new relationship with my body, I'm like, fuck it. I don't care. I'm going to wear the short shorts. I'm going to do that. I'm like, I'm a mom. I'm a mother. Like, it's fine. Like, it's really like, I'm going to be out here with my like running stroller. I'm going to have, and then now my husband, since starting the run club, he ran the marathon with me in 2019. Every time I sign up for a race, I sign him up for the 5K, and now he was like the other day, he's like, yeah, I really miss running. I was like, you miss running? Excuse me. So who knows what will come of that, but like I'm so inspired, and I don't know how you feel about you and your kids, but like now I'm like, oh, I'm going to run races and then I'm going to have my baby to like run into my arms afterwards. And like, that's some motivation right there. Like, I'm so excited to being a mom, like a running mom.
Yeah. 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 It is very meaningful. I've done a few races with my kids here locally. I don't tend to travel with my kids. They've seen me maybe 5 or 6 times in races, and it does mean so much having, them go, Mom, go. And also more to the point is actually my husband usually films that moment, because when you're in it, you can it goes by so quick, and also you can't always hear. So it's nice to see the behind the scenes perspective. So that would be one piece of advice: get someone to film when you go by. But yeah, no, I actually, one thing I like is how normalized running is in my family. My husband runs as well. And just in general, I think my kids see going out for a run. I don't know if you do or don't know this, but I had Achilles surgery 6 months ago. So we're still working my way back into it. I'm at the very, very beginning stages of running. But that said, they very much see it's normalized for me to go out for a run or to go out for a ride or to go take care of myself. And I don't do it in a guilt kind of way. It's very much like mummy needs this time. I know you're going to miss mummy. Mummy's going to miss you, but mummy needs this time to herself to be the best version of her and to be the best version of me. And it's not kind of a oh, I'm so sorry to leave you, my baby. Please, I'll be back soon. But
This is
negative.
for the both of us.
Yeah, like I promise you I'm helping you too by me doing this. And so it's been like a non-negotiable, which I really enjoy and appreciate. And they have normalized that. I do, because I have a background as an elite athlete, get the question constantly of like, have they started running yet? To which I really respond with absolutely not. And if they want to do that someday, that's on them, but there is nothing coming from this end.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it's just for them, running is something people do, which I love.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I know you said this was my last question, but I have a question for you when I'm able to ask it.
Sure, you can ask.
And it's not about running. Are you related to the John Muir?
No, Muir.
You're not? Have you been asked that question before?
I actually have, but I thought you were going to ask the other one, which is there's a world-class miler, 1500 runner called Laura Muir, and people ask me if she's my sister like 2 or 3 times a week. I get that question.
I don't know. For me, being the father of national parks is pretty cool.
No.
That's her great granddad.
No. As far as I know, I'm not related. It's only funny you say that, because yesterday I was wearing a hoodie that I got when we went to Muir Woods, and I bought it just because it said it on there. Yeah. And yesterday when I wore it, my strength training coach was like, what's Muir Woods? And I was like, what do you mean, what's Muir Woods? How do you not know what that is? It's John Muir, out in California. Forest. And he's like, oh, so you just bought it because it said your name on it? And I'm like, yeah. So it's funny you say that, because he just was making that comment yesterday. And I was like, well, maybe not everyone does know who John Muir is. But no, he's not related to me that I know of, but it is funny that he was an environmentalist, and I very much view myself as that. So I kind of have found my way over to him.
That's it. And that was my thought, was like, maybe it runs in the family.
That would have been a cool story.
Yeah,
I wish
and then
say that.
Right. In the Muir Woods, I didn't even really know it was called that. I always called it the Redwood Forest.
There's like a specific part of it. It's the bit of, I think it's just called Muir Woods. Yeah, there's a small part of it by the Dipsy Trail that is called Muir Woods. Yeah,
and like that's where I went, because I was visiting San Francisco, and we went, and I mean, absolutely beautiful. But I had to ask.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. Yeah, no, I am not related to him as far as I know.
I'm still a fan, though. I'm still a fan of the work that you do. Like, love, you definitely are an environmentalist, and I love the knowledge that you share, and just like the time you take to have these conversations is really great, and I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, and appreciate you sharing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next stage brings, but appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Before we go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Running for Real team. Without them, I would not be able to do barely anything compared to what I'm able to do today. They are behind the scenes. They are there for me. I am just so appreciative of them. To Jeremy Nessel, our podcast editor, audio consultant, and someone who's been with me since the start. To Sally Pontarelli, our content and operations manager, who is there day to day doing all the things to help me be successful. To Kelsey Wang, our head of design, and Louise Murphy, our associate designer. And finally, to Sandy Gutierrez, our photographer and content strategist. I am appreciative of all of you and wouldn't be able to do what I do without you. I really enjoyed that conversation with Courtney, and I encourage you to go follow along with her journey if you do not already. You can find links to everything we talked about today in the show notes by going to runningforreal.com/episode 422. You can also find links to our partners in there. Thank you to Lever, to AG1, and to Runner. Again, you can find that at runningforreal.com/episode 422. I appreciate you listening, and I cannot wait to hear you again next week.